welcome back to Relax with Animal Facts. I am Steph Wolf, and today I am going to be learning with you about our furry, scaly, or possibly even slimy friends. And in today's case, it is definitely going to be a furry friend of ours, because we are covering the oh-so-wonderful Pine Marten. Now, this is a very special listener episode dedicated to Dorina, or because I am Eastern European, I would say Darina. I don't know if you are Eastern European, but that is two ways that I would say it, just to make sure I am not saying your name wrong. But thank you, Darina, for writing in and for your wonderful suggestion of the Pine Marten. This episode would not be possible without your writing in, and this podcast would not be possible without each and every one of you out there listening with me. Now, this episode is being posted just a teeny bit later than normal because it was my birthday this weekend, and I just got so caught up in birthday stuff and staying up late, things that I don't normally do, and it put me out of commission for a little bit. So I hope you guys understand, and I am so glad to be here with you. It is almost like another birthday gift to me that you can join me on our little adventure today, where we're going to be learning about the Pine Marten. And if you want to join me for more animal facts and about extinct animals that are no longer around, you can go to the YouTube channel, where we will be getting some bonus episodes here and there. So if you go to YouTube and just search up Relax with Animal Facts, some of the first episodes will be coming out soon. In terms of the Patreon and all those things, if you've heard it on previous episodes, please disregard all the stuff about Q&As and everything only being on Patreon. I want all of you to be able to access the content for free. This is not a podcast that is for monetary gain. It is only here to make a difference in the lives of all of you out there listening. And what I am hoping to accomplish through finding a good charity to maybe support underprivileged kids for education or for clean water is that through you guys listening, you can make a difference in someone else's life that might be in a situation that is not exactly the most ideal, but that is still sort of in the phase of trying to figure out just which one to go with. But anyways, on another topic, for those of you that are reaching out to send messages through Instagram, if you haven't gotten a response in the past couple of days, it is because I am currently locked out of my account. My phone broke completely, and I do not have access to old codes and things like that. My account is completely locked down. I don't have any way to get into it, and I'm not sure if any of you have ever tried to reach out to Instagram, but they are not the most responsive. So if you want to get a reply in the next couple of weeks before I get back on my Instagram, which I do not know when will happen, the support team is not necessarily the best. So feel free to instead email relaxwithanimalfacts if you're not getting a response. And now we have a review that is not coming all the way from somewhere necessarily, because it is coming from Canada. For those of you that don't know, this podcast is recorded in Canada, and this is written by All Things Yogini. And All Things Yogini writes, I have an infant son who wakes for feeding, and while he is able to return to dreamland in minutes, I am not so lucky. But this podcast is a lifesaver. The host has a lovely, calming voice, and the variety of animals covered keeps my mind occupied while I drift back off to sleep. The wombat episode has been my favorite so far. Who knew animals could have cube-shaped poop or use their bums as a line of defense? And I am looking forward to upcoming episodes. Thank you, from a fellow Canadian. And then there's a little smiley face at the end. Thank you very much, All Things Yogini, for such a kind review. Whenever I read these, I can't help but smiling from ear to ear. And I'm not sure if those of you listening can hear when I get this big, stupid grin on my face. But if you want to leave a wonderful review like that, and for those of you who want to help support the show, if it has been of any benefit to you, leaving a review like this is one of the best things that you can do to help grow the show and bring others into the animal podcast family that just keeps growing each and every day. It has been just so amazing. And now I'm just going to tell you where I got my facts from before we get into the show. I got my facts from naturecanada.ca, discoverwildlife.com, and forestholidays.co.uk. So if you want to learn more about these animals or about plenty of other animals, you can go to these resources, which I will leave in the show notes. This episode couldn't be possible without these resources. And now let's go into the portion of the show that I'm sure many of you are waiting for. I want all of you to sort of go through your body and notice maybe where you're carrying some physical tension, some physical stress. In my case, I honestly am not feeling too tense, maybe a little bit in my head. So maybe you are carrying some tension in your legs, in your neck, in your back. Who knows? Everybody is different. But I want you to sort of pay attention to where you are feeling some of that physical tension and try your best to just let it go as you focus on my voice and we go into this immersive experience with me, Steph Wolf, into the forests where the Pine Marten resides. So the Pine Marten is a mustelid and is a member of the weasel family. In Britain specifically, the martens family members include the stoat, weasel, polecat, otter, and badger, and other mustelids include wolverines and honey badgers. So we can see that we have covered some other mustelids on the podcast before. So we are just adding another little cute pine marten to the list of mustelids that we've learned about on the show. So these little guys are also referred to as the American marten, and it is quite the boreal forest animal. The American marten is found throughout Canada, in mature boreal forests of conifers or mixed forests of conifers and hardwoods, a male defends a territory of from about 2.6 to 7.8 kilometers. Now, for those of you listening from the United States who don't really know kilometers, us Canadians love it, but I did the conversion for you so you don't have to do the math. It's about 1.6 to 4.8 miles squared in terms of their territory. And they will cover this area in about 8 to 10 days, hunting as they go. A male will not allow another male into his territory, but tolerates multiple female territories in or intersecting his range. And this is not something that is exclusive to the Pine Marten. We can see just how common this kind of competition between males is in the animal kingdom. And generally, the female marten occupies a territory of about 2.6 kilometers squared, which is about 1.6 miles squared. Now, for those of you who do not know what a Pine Marten actually looks like and you don't want to search it up, don't worry, I'm going to do my best to describe it for you. So use your imagination if you haven't already Googled them, and you can see later just how close you were. So American martens are long and slender animals, typical of the Mustelidae. The male measures about 360 to 450 millimeters, and the tail is going to add an additional 150 to 230 millimeters. They weigh in between 470 to 1,300 grams. The females are going to be slightly smaller and lighter, which is fairly common, as many of you long-term listeners know, and their head to body lengths will be between 320 to 400 millimeters, with their tails being 135 to 200 millimeters, so just slightly smaller. The head of these little guys are going to be broad, which will taper in to a adorable but sharp little nose. Their eyes will be large and black in color, and the ears are large and rounded like a cat. So if you haven't Googled them before, I don't think that I have to tell you that they are pretty adorable little creatures. They will also have long, shiny, and silky fur. The head is gray, the legs and tail are going to be a dark brown or black, and the chest will have a patch that is a sort of cream color, and the back will be a light brown. And as it is written in this article, befitting its arboreal tendency, arboreal just means tree dwelling, the American marten will have sharp, curved, and semi-retractable claws. So for those of you that have not Googled the animal, you can see later just how close you got to what they actually look like. And let's go a little deeper into what they eat. So they have a very high metabolism, with its diet consisting of primarily small mammals, including squirrels and rodents. This is an animal that is deemed to be an opportunistic feeder. They will eat birds, fruits, nuts, insects, and carrion. However, the marten is also an aggressive predator and can hunt for much larger animals such as marmots and larger snowshoe hares. So they are opportunistic, confident, and can sort of hit above their weight class. So we have to give respect where respect is due. So except for breeding season, they prefer sort of this solitary lifestyle. Their mating season will be between June and August. So as of when this episode is recorded and posted, it seems to be their breeding season right now. The males may breed with more than one female, meaning that it is not necessarily a monogamous kind of relationship. So the females will typically give birth to 1 to 5 young, which are known as kits. They will be born in late March to early April, and the females will raise the young. They will grow pretty quickly and reach adult size at about 4 to 5 months, at which time they will leave the den. The females can produce litters from 3 to 12 years of age, so that is a fairly broad window at which they can produce kits. And you might be wondering just how long they can live. Well, in the wild, they are considered to be old at about 9 years of age, so not that old. But a common trend that we see on the podcast is that captivity will significantly increase longevity, and that is no exception for the marten, because it will live to be about 17 years on average in captivity, which is nearly double that of its wild friends. Few predators can match the agility and quickness of the adult marten, although the young are particularly vulnerable to carnivores like wolves or owls. Both animals we have sort of covered on the podcast before. So as with nearly every animal that we've covered on the show, the pine marten plays a very key role in ecology, meaning that it plays a role in the sort of equilibrium or homeostasis, if you want to use fancy terms, of its habitat, which happens to be the forest. And in particular, the pine marten has been credited with reducing the populations of the very invasive gray squirrel, which has historically pushed out the native red squirrel species. This means that where pine martens are thriving, the red squirrel population also will benefit. And in terms of sleeping, they really like well-wooded areas with plenty of cover, where they can make their little dens and breeding nests in tree hollows and abandoned animal homes. You will see in the animal kingdom, many animals will be opportunistic not only in their eating habits, but also with different variables such as finding homes. Why make your own, spending the energy and the resources to do so when you can just find one that another animal has already made? But if necessary, they will survive in more open habitats like rocky hillsides and scrubland. And now for the final fact of the episode, which is Where does the name Pine Marten come from? Pine martens take their name from their habitat, living mostly in woodland and preferring to spend most of their time in pine trees, although they will live in areas of scrub and rocks and crags as well. So here you have an example of an animal being given a name because of where researchers likely found them. What a wonderful little animal that we got to learn about today. I am so happy that you were able to join me and that I have such great company as we're sort of walking around the forests looking up at these agile little hunters. If you want to learn about a particular animal that you really like, you can write into the show to relaxwithanimalfacts@gmail.com, and normally you can also message Relax with Animal Facts on Instagram, but of course right now I am locked out of that account. You can also alternatively leave a comment on the YouTube videos that are posted. I reply to each and every one of you on all of those platforms, so please feel free to do so. Thank you to all of you who support the show financially through Patreon and through other means. I hope we can all make a difference together. Just know that your contributions and your listenership does not go unnoticed. So I hope that all of you out there enjoyed this episode, and I hope to see you on the next podcast episode with the next animal. Take care.